to the school. Abdullahi, who is the Deputy Registrar, Information and Publications of the university, he disclosed this in a statement that was sent to the News Agency of Nigeria early on Saturday in Jos, adding that the hostels will remain closed until further notice. According to Abdullahi, the decision followed an emergency meeting between the management of the university and other stakeholders, including heads of security agencies in the state, the chief security officer of the institution, and students' representatives and others, which was held on the 30th of April. And the official said that the outcome of the meeting indicated that the university had become a soft target for insecurity, hence the decision for students to vacate the hostels. It was also in the news that some university in Nigeria was contemplating employing dogs to protect the school against these bandits, as they were. So you find that school hostels especially have become kind of somewhat a soft target for these criminal minds. And this obviously makes us ask questions like, what does this tell of our education in Nigeria? What does this spell for our universities, our schools, nursery, primary and secondary in Nigeria at a time like this? What should be done to ensure safety and protection of our children in schools right now? I'll be joined by a guest. He is a school coordinator and an author. Sir Ikechi Nwogu will be joining me shortly. Don't go away.
Different ideologies
and different perspectives.
Share your views on the sunny side.
92.3 Nigeria Info.
Let's talk.
Let's talk.
Welcome back to the sunny side. I'm Gabriella. 28 minutes on the clock. We kickstart our conversation with the impact of insecurity on education in Nigeria. And I've been joined by my guest, Sir Ikechi Nwogu. Thank you so much for making time to be here.
Thank you. Nice being here.
All right, so let's start with why. Why, in your opinion, do you think the schools have become soft target, especially in a time like this for kidnapping, where the country is fighting, crime at all levels? Why do you think schools right now have become somewhat soft target?
The underlying word has just been stated: soft target. They are soft targets because they are soft targets. They are easy buy-ins. So you have very vulnerable children. These criminal-minded people want to take advantage of our vulnerabilities. So irrespective of gender, once they can be guaranteed the crowd, which you can get in the school. So it's not just the schools. It's any gathering of 2 or 3 persons or more than that. But in this case now, in most of those schools, especially the government schools, you can be guaranteed 300, 500. And that is a big deal for them. So it makes the impact that they want. And they just come in. These ones are harmless, innocent children. They come in and just pick them up. It's easy for them to do that. But I wonder the route map to all of this. How do they walk through? How do they drive through? How do they ensure that? Maybe some of the schools are situated close to forests and all that. But if everywhere in Nigeria is actually within the coverage space of our security operatives or of our leadership, then it also begs the question as to how this could be carried out without any form of surveillance, without any form of identification. That's what the problem is.
Does this apply as well for university students?
Yeah, as long as they're not armed, as long as it's a crowd. As long as they are vulnerable. I mean, you're learning in class. The children are learning in class, and they don't expect this. Now, maybe with the growing sensitivity, people will begin to expect anything to happen, especially within certain parts of the country. It's not a good thing to say that you're learning in class and you're not sure of what the next outcomes will be.
Right.
That's scary, because you want to come to school and learn with the whole of your heart. Learning is a wholehearted process. If it is compromised, then learning will not be effective. Yeah.
How would you rate the government's response so far to, especially, yes, it's affected other parts of the country and other individuals, but students especially? How would you rate the government's response to the kidnapped students?
Shock. Which shouldn't be, because with proper intelligence gathering, government should be pre-informed. They should be able to preempt these people and their moves. You know that there are bandits, there are criminals within this region, this locality. You know what their intentions are. You know what their tendencies are. Why don't you begin to anticipate such moves and closing on them before they even strike? Why don't you plant moles amongst them? You know, it is very possible. You plant moles that will feed in information. Where's the DSS? Where is all of this? So to hear that government is always aloof of what is going on is to say the least surprising and scary. Every time you hear the government speak afterwards, they say, we regret this, we regret that. We didn't create a government of regrets. We created a government that should be proactive enough to drive through processes, come up with strategies, and say we're dealing with this. Yeah, so maybe because it hasn't concerned them directly, because these seem like other people's children, not directly related to them. Even though El Rufai at some point, some weeks back, said even if his children were involved in this present kidnap, he wouldn't pay the bandits.
Yes, I mean, I would like to know what you think about that statement.
Well, he could only say that because his child is not involved in that. It's not a true statement, because you can imagine the emotions. Now, parents have contributed as much as 55 million naira for these bandits because they have taken the bull by the horns. Let's do what we can do on our own. And then the bandits are coming around to say, oh, the money is not enough. Oh, the money only took care of their feeding. For how many days? That's really reckless. And they're having a field day within our territorial confines. I mean, it's insane. It's not easy to imagine how that could be. And they're just doing this. They're just relaxed. There's no threat to their existence, no threat to their campground. Everything is just normal with almost 300 children. I mean, where do you hide 300 children anywhere in the world? Yeah.
And how do you even transition from point A to point B with 300 children? These are questions I will not be able to get answers.
Which is why a lot of people feel there's some compromise. Okay, they feel maybe there's some political fingering, there's some influential maneuvering somewhere. Some big men, some big wigs, okay, are championing all of this. But what's the cause? It's yet to be understood. Because in the news, you would always hear them say nobody recovers the guns from the bad boys after the election. So there are guns everywhere. Okay, that's the assumption. But someone is still using them. Okay, you hear a governor, so sometimes there's a kidnap within a particular state and the governor gives the security operatives 28 hours or 48 hours. And right on point, within 48 hours, they release the victims without a ransom paid. So when government takes 1 year, 2 years, okay, is it like the government doesn't know? Aren't there intelligence reports? You sometimes even hear volunteer news supplies saying that, look, we know where these people are. Okay, you must have heard of the case of the American broadcaster or the American worker who was kidnapped. Okay, and in a swift operation, the U.S. just made for his release. So can't we do something? I mean, Nigeria is great. Nigeria is great. The truth is we know what to do, but maybe we just aren't doing it.
Do you think that it's a question of being overwhelmed on the part of the government with the situation at hand? Do you think that, like you said, the government is fully aware of what is going on, but do not have the capacity to
a large
as much as they ought to do?
Yeah, to a large extent, I think I sense complicitness. It's not easy to say, okay, but thinking from the standpoint of an observer, I think the military is gallant enough to drive in and do all of this. Yes, they've been overwhelmed to some extent, but not to every extent. right? So if the military could not close in on Boko Haram and put an end to Boko Haram, right? And then you have now the bandits, then you have the herdsmen. Who are the herdsmen? These are cattle traders, cattle handlers. What are they doing with guns? Have you made any arrests? At this point, okay, now that it hasn't become too hydra-headed, or I could say that it is easy to come in and say, okay, let's reorganize the entire cattle movement, okay, to see what we could do. Can we not retrieve the guns from these people? Is it true that they are carrying weapons? What weapons are they carrying? But otherwise, you see the government mostly making excuses for them. Oh, don't harm them. If you harm this, you're doing this, you're doing that. Oh, let's learn to live at peace with. So all of that just doesn't make sense. It doesn't indicate that they are overwhelmed. It only indicates some bit of cover up. Maybe somebody's being petty somewhere, somebody is shielding someone. That is just all of what this points to. Yeah, I don't see very much sincerity in this.
All right, we've got 24 minutes on the clock for this conversation. I'd like that you also join in and let me know what you think. Do you think that the government is doing as much as they should do in this regard? And I'd also be asking you as a student right now if you feel safe going to school. I'd like to feel your pulse on that. But coming back to you, Sarah Ikechi Nwogu, what does this spell for education across Nigeria right now?
Well, it's really discouraging, but the strength we draw is from other nations who've been in this, like nations like Israel, for example. Israel has lived in this, like this is their life. Terror, okay, and so they have. If you get to Jerusalem and visit any of their schools, there was once one of the news media out there was carrying out, an investigation on how the Israelis survive, right? So now they have rebuilt their structures in such a way that you throw a bomb next door to a school building, and the students in class don't even feel the mess. So once upon a time, I think that was sometime 2018, I was in Jerusalem at the ICC, and a bomb was thrown just within near space, right? And right in the ICC, we heard the noise, but there was no vibration. It just sounded like, firecrackers right here. It was after the conference we stepped out and we realized that something probably more serious had gone on, but we were completely shielded. We weren't at risk at all. I mean, ordinarily, no one should be going to Jerusalem, but Jerusalem seems like a safe place to be. So we could borrow cues from those places. And so it shouldn't be too much of a threat to education as it seems. Rather, we should become somewhat more proactive, okay? It may not always be terror. Terror might be an extreme case. What about basic kidnapping that is going on? Children lifting, okay, from one point to another, So what the question should be, what we should be doing as individuals, as parents, as school owners out there to protect our children early enough before it becomes a disaster.
I see. All right, so the phone lines that you can call, which are open, by the way, 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007, and the female line is 0817-923-0009. On Facebook, it's at Nigeria Info 92.3 page. On Twitter, at Nigeria Info page. On Facebook, Sunday Umova says, does the government have any better security? Talk more of providing for a school when students are missing in their hundreds in the north. And Mike Racing says, thank God I'm done with school. If not, with the current situation in the country, my school going days would have been over. That's a question that I will be asking the listener much later. But how do you think students are feeling at this time, especially university students, with what has happened in Greenfield University, for instance, where students were, sleeping in their hostels and boom, something like this happens? Yeah,
it's really uncertain. It's disheartening. If I were a student at these times, I'll feel unsure. Unsure not because I don't think that I could be smart and probably jump fences, but I think the terror case is thriving on uncertainty. So you don't know what their plans are, you don't know where they are coming from, you don't even know who's behind this. I think that's what creates more of the scare. You don't know who's next. Okay, so are we saying we're shutting down education in the north? What is the level of edu penetration to start with in the north? Okay, so are we saying, okay, everyone should come to the south? Let's also not think it's a northern thing. Back in the day when kidnapping began, it was a white man's thing, and we felt relaxed until they began to pick people in the neighborhood. Okay, so how do we become more intelligent? I think the student union governments of institutions should be a little more careful and proactive. By now, conversations should have changed. Engage the school authorities, okay, on what next. I mean, even right here in Port Harcourt, we should be engaging our school authorities because it's one nation, it's a common ground, right? They could move it. You can't say that there aren't some of these crazy guys, these terrorists right here in the south. We've been reading all sorts of junk in the news, so anything is possible. How do we beef up security? Do we need to increase, heighten the walls? Do we need to get some better armed security men at the gates? Okay, if the walls are so high, they may not be able to climb them, except they want to use helicopters, and that's impossible in the south, right? Now, they would want to drive in. Already there are court issues, court boys sneaking in from other institutions to another institution. So it shows clearly that we're exposed. But then we are more in number, and it seems, I'm not speaking like a security operative, but it seems like we could be smarter. We all went through school at some point where there were cult-related activities. Okay, the same way we survived that, right? We could begin to think around, okay, boosting the measures to ensure that, yeah, these ones are better equipped, they are better armed, and we shouldn't be afraid we can overcome.
What would you like to see happen right now to get students to a point where they feel safe going to school again?
They want to see security at their gates. So when you're looking
Most
at
universities have security at the gates.
not armed men. So you have security companies manning the gates, except on convocations and important days that you get some, and then maybe when the governor is coming, he sends in his crack team ahead of time and all of that. But on a normal day, you don't see very many armed security men. And for the season, for the time being, I think every institution should be able to afford it. Okay, the tertiary institutions in Rivers State, for example, and most other states can afford armed security men with a better sense of intelligence. So I remember when I was in school in Rivers State, the CSO, Chief Security Officer, was an ex-serviceman. So he was a little adept at intelligence gathering. Okay, I remember once there was a cult clash, okay, from the pattern of the operation, because these ones leave traditional marks, right? From the pattern of the operation, the Chief Security Officer knew what cult was involved. And he drove down to the room of the ringleader with the director of student affairs, and they said, "Why did you do this?" So they began to talk, and true to it, that cult was involved. So security comes with patterns, especially in cases of terror, and so it is hard to know to think that nobody knows anything about anything. So it's about intelligence, local intelligence, like we're saying, walking down, strolling, or driving through routes. Did nobody see them? That's intelligence. So
and they always come in numbers.
They come in numbers. So who are these people?
Right.
Before they operate, it doesn't take 1 or 2 seconds. It takes time, sometimes 2 hours, right? Could nobody within the environment, maybe a hunter, maybe somebody could have made a call somewhere to say this is happening. You call the security numbers, they are everywhere. Okay, so to say that there's no intelligence and there's no consciousness, that's my imagine. It's hard for me to believe. Yeah.
All right, so I'd like to hear from you right now. The phone lines have been buzzing. We'll take the calls now. 0817 923 0002 0003 0817 923 0007 or 0009. The WhatsApp number is 0809 030 6416. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Gabriela. Oh, no, afternoon. Yeah, you're talking about, my name is Promise.
Go ahead.
You're
Promise.
talking about the impact of insecurity to education. I narrow it a case study of the northern Nigeria. Now, look at the situation that we are facing. It is laughable. It is a pitiable peaceman. It is a regrettable lugubrious that exceptional place in Nigeria have decided that education is a taboo in their area, and now you are imposing education on them. Even when they build a Amajiri school, they
This is not a conversation
like
about ethnic differences
Now,
or religious differences. The question is, in recent time, there's been a lot of kidnapping, and students have sadly been victims as well. How much do you think the government should do at this time to ensure that students across Nigeria
it is
feel
a sectional
safe?
place that have been doing it. Have it been happening in Rivers State? Have it happening in the Delta? Have it been happening in the Cross River?
You don't wait for something to happen in your house before you know that it's a national problem. I mean, just like my guest mentioned earlier, because kidnapping wasn't such a phenomena here, everybody relaxed and thought it was, I mean, nothing, no concern me. You don't wait until your child is kidnapped from his or her school before you realize, ooh, this is a problem that affects us all. So that is something I do not even want to pay attention to, what the last caller was trying to say. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike. I'm calling from Nwogu.
Go ahead, Mike.
Hello?
Go ahead.
For me, I think from all the sectors calling for education really has not been mentioned anything in this country. We've not seen the effects of education in this country, at least to show even the bandits, the so-called bandits and all these people that education is worth it. We've not really seen anything productive, because what I'm seeing in this country is individuals, people taking responsibilities on their own, those that are going to school. I want somebody, even your guest on this, to really point out one thing we've achieved from education sector, so that we can have evidence that can prove to these bandits, we can prove to them that they are wrong. In as much as we don't have anything on ground to prove to these people that education has really improved our life, or our life, this is what education has done to us, I think we are giving them hands and giving them, and they will continue.
All right. You left me quite confused a little bit there, Mike. But I would like, if you are a student, whatever institution you are studying in, I would like that you also join the conversation. Do you feel safe right now? Do you feel under threat of any sort? And what do you, as a student, what do you think the government should do to make you feel safe going back to school? I would like that you call in or send a message, and let's talk about that for the next few minutes that we have. On Twitter, Michael Owokono says, to me, I strongly believe that the government knows what to do to end insecurity once and for all, but they wouldn't do it because they know what they're doing, he says. Timothy Oladile still on Twitter says, good day, Gabi. If they want to end insecurity in our schools and the country at large, they should stop negotiating with terrorists, because that alone makes them misbehave more. Let's talk about negotiations right now with terrorists. Do you think that's a possible solution?
It's a case of helplessness right now when the terrorists seem to be in charge of the game. It's easier to negotiate when they are in the minority. Now, we've given them too much strength, especially in our expression. Now, I was listening to the news just yesterday, and I heard the governor's voice while he was addressing, was it traditional rulers or heads of local governments? And, I liked the toughness in his expression. And if I were a bad boy, I'll be threatened by this new move. I don't know what he's up to. I don't know what he might just come up with right now. And that's what Nigerians expect of national leadership. But a case where something happens, somebody is killed, and you say, we regret that. It's like saying that you see someone coming to harm you right from your gate, and then you just let him in as though you're helpless, and then he's walking right into your door, and you're just saying to him, please don't come in. He just sees that you're weak, and he will come in, and that's what is happening right now. So we need some increased sense of fierceness from the government. We need to know that the military has expressed their might in this, and there are conquests. That is what we should be hearing in the news right now, to say there's victory here. In fact, the one that masterminded the other operation has been arrested. He's being investigated, or in fact his arrest has led to further unraveling some of the mysteries, because there are still mysteries right now. But it's been months and we're not hearing of all of those. Maybe every once in a while you hear that this person has been killed, this person has been closed in on. What about the camps? We hear that there are camps everywhere in the bushes, in the west, in the south, in the east. There are camps everywhere, so, and then the same federal government is clamping down on some pressure groups Okay, like we heard of the ESN and all that, using the Air Force and all that. So it seems a little unbalanced. And people are asking, why clamp down on a pressure group when there is the terrorist group just right in front of you, but because they have not yet been proscribed? So what's stopping us from proscribing Boko Haram? You could proscribe IPOB very well. Why not prescribe Boko Haram? Why not prescribe, some of these the people who have come all out to say this is who we are? And then you don't want to prescribe them. What are you waiting for? And then they create panic in society and you just let them be. For me, it beats my imagination, I say again. But it will eventually lead to people taking laws into their hands. And that's the fear that I have. Okay, where people will now sit down, local vigilante groups, okay, maybe identifying ways to arm themselves. Because in cases like this is just the other side of it. Everyone waiting to defend himself. You've heard religious leaders calling out to people, defend yourself in any way. How will I defend myself? Will it be with a stick or a stone, or I get some more sophisticated weapons? And how are these weapons coming in? Nobody's checking that. There's the proliferation of firearms in Nigeria. There is the black market booming for firearms. So you hear all sorts of things. Everybody in some way is getting prepared for something they think will happen, but which has not yet happened. And so it's like the center cannot hold anymore. There is disaster looming amongst us, and it is the place of government to secure lives and property. We want to hear those statements that point to action, that point more directly to boosting security before we even talk about securing help from anywhere. Okay, we need to have government come out and say, look, we are on top of this. Give us 1 week, give us 2 weeks, not a promise anymore. And then you see real action. Okay, like I remember back in the day, you had the president insisting that the defense headquarters should relocate to Borno State. Now, we didn't quite see too much of the results of that, but then that was a move. But then a few weeks later, we heard that the president was in a meeting with the police chief, and he said, I thought you were some, and apparently he instructed him to go, and the man didn't go, and nothing happened to the man. So bandits, bad boys will pay attention to some of these details, and it becomes laughable.
Do you think it's a question of priority? Do you think perhaps the government has not prioritized the issue of security?
They have prioritized it. They have prioritized it, but the truth is, the government, to me, after this number of years, if I would summarize, the government is yet to show us how serious they are about issues of governance. So it seems more like they are distracted with too many things. But this is why you were voted into power. You were voted into power to secure the lives of Nigerians. You were voted into power to secure education, to grow education, sports everywhere. What are your dreams? Okay, now you're still dealing with very petty issues. Gabi, of recent, have you taken time to compare the news, okay, from different nations? I mean, even in Africa, you hear of novel sensations, amazing things, and then you come back to Nigeria. Every day there's a death story. Every day there's a story of insecurity. There's a story of harassment. There's a story of food prices going up, and you wonder what is happening. So it leaves Nigerians in a very, very helpless state, and I think this is the lowest ebb, in our national existence.
All right, we're out of time, sadly. Just a minute on the clock. We'll take a few messages on WhatsApp. Our government, this message reads, at all levels has never regretted anything, rather they condemn. Point of correction, our government has never regretted anything, he says. This message is from Chinedu from London. Says, I'm listening to your show and I'm amazed at the lack of threat modeling being used by institutions of learning in Nigeria. Haven't they heard of CPTED, crime prevention through environmental design, which is an agenda for manipulating the built environment to create safer neighborhoods, he says. I'm yet to see any threat modeling frameworks being used in conjunction with risk management. All right, thank you very much for your thoughts. I think we have a few tweets left. Sally, we're out of time. Let's have your final thoughts going forward. What are some of the strategies you would like to see government applying? Actionable, moves and efforts to first recover these students from the kidnappers, from the bandits, and then ensure that it doesn't happen again.
The bandits, if they are Nigerians, belong to families. Everyone has a sense of influence over him or her. And so someone knows these bandits. I think someone should make that call to the bandits. Otherwise, better intelligence gathering would help us close in on them. These children are within their space. I mean, they were kidnapped from Kaduna, and they are still within Kaduna bushes. They weren't taken to Lagos or Niger. Even if they were made to sneak out of Nigeria, through what route? So all of those bits of information would help guide around the security of the children. The children can be released. But to say we want to sit down and negotiate with them, it's going to be one time too many. Okay, and I'm not sure that's a realistic approach. Okay, so we should be making moves to closing on them. Yes, we can, because they are not as skilled as our armed men. I know that the military, some quarters of the military will be working on securing the release of the children now. But like we said earlier, it doesn't yet seem like a priority to them. Maybe because these people are somewhat disconnected from them. They are not their children directly. Yeah, but one statement, one fair statement from the president will change everything. If he calls the service chiefs and says, I give you 24 hours to secure the release of those children, they will release those children. That's just the truth.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you.
Yeah.
To have yourself a lovely afternoon.
Yeah. Thank you.
4 minutes on the clock. This is On the Sunny Side. At 1 o'clock, the news update comes up, and right after the conversation continues. Don't go away.